Hey everybody, this is Everyday Commentary. This is a video overview of this knife, and this knife is the Giant Mouse Ace Series Riv. It is a knife designed by Jesper Voxnaes, who is part of the group at Giant Mouse, and it is absolutely excellent. I believe this knife was produced by Rayot on spec from Giant Mouse using a design by Mr. Voxnaes. It runs Elmax steel, and it is a pretty small knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some size comparisons. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the specs. I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like, and then we'll be done. So here's the Riv compared to a relatively common knife, the Benchmade Mini Grip. And as you can see, the Mini Grip, which I think is a relatively small knife, is significantly bigger than the Riv, especially when closed. Now the interesting thing is when you go pivot to pivot, the Riv doesn't lose a lot on a pivot to pivot comparison. And it's smaller, but it's not like a ton smaller. In the pocket, it is significantly smaller. Here's the Riv compared to an American dollar. And you can see it's even open, it's smaller than an American dollar. And here's the thickness of the Riv compared to a AA battery. As you can see, a AA battery is about as thick as the knife is overall. The dimensions on the Riv are really nice. It has a 2.44 inch blade, and I think it's 5.36 inches overall when it's deployed. It's right around 3 ounces, though I don't remember the exact number. So let's talk about what I like. So the first thing that I like is, I like the fact that you can open this knife with a finger flick or a flipper. And if you want to, you can also open it, roll it open like a Spyderco. Those 3 options are all pretty good. I generally like the finger flick the best. I have had some issues, and we'll get to this in a second, with the flipper tab, but we'll talk about that, like I said, in a little bit. The other thing that I really like about this knife, oh, by the way, this cost me $185, and it was shipped. So it was like 187, I forget, whatever. It's 185 bucks. They came out in 3 versions. There's a titanium, a brass, and then this one, which is the OD Green micarta. I'm a little tired of OD Green micarta, but I wanted the lightest version possible. So let's take a look at some of the other things that I think are interesting about this knife. So as you can see, there is an inset in that right there. You can see it, it's right there. There's an inset piece of steel in that micarta. I don't know exactly why they did that. Maybe they did that so that the ball bearings on the ball bearing would have a place to go, and they wouldn't rest just on the micarta, which would make them pretty bumpy. They could have also done it for strength, but I really don't think they need it. It's an interesting thing. It's not something that I think you'd notice right away, but it's there. It's not my favorite thing. Another thing that I really like, to get back to the likes about this knife, I love the in-hand feel on this knife. This is probably the smallest full 4-finger knife out there, except maybe the Dragonfly. It's right around the same level of grip as the Dragonfly. I like that the jimping is brought up here because they know that you're going to be gripping the knife like this. I also like the fact that the spine is crowned. It's a nice touch. It's classy. I think most folders should have a crown spine. There's no reason for them not to. But it's a really, really nice touch here. The other thing that I like about this knife is this blade comes down to a super mega thin edge. When you have the knife in your hand and you're cutting, because of the way that the blade is designed, you're really close to the cutting surface. I mean, as you can see, I'm basically touching the cutting surface. I have my finger there. So if you're doing one of these kind of cuts, you've got tons and tons of control over the blade. I love that. And that's one of the reasons I really like small knives. But this blade is mega thin with lots of control. That's a great thing. A couple things that I don't like. So every once in a while, I'll get a fail fire on the flipper. And it's not because the flipper half deploys. It's because I overcompensate and I pull through and the flipper, I don't trigger it at all. It can be a little stiff if you put your fingers in the wrong spot. You know, it's got the ZT problem, but it's not common. The other thing that I didn't like, which I pointed out, was the liner on the micarta side. You just don't need that on a knife this small. One thing that's neither good nor bad, but something to note, this knife is a very similar design to the CRKT Pilar. I find it a little bit more refined than the Pilar, a little bit better in hand, and not quite as bulky. Obviously, I think it's better made than the Pilar. Even my special edition Pilar that I had with the S35V in steel, I feel like this is a little bit better made. So that's a video overview of the Giant Mouse Ace Series Riv. I like this knife. It is definitely one of my favorite knives of 2021, which is great because it's the 3rd of January, but you get the point. This is a really, really good knife. I anticipate that it will be scored very highly. This might be something that's added to the permanent collection. This is a really, really good knife. So when you get a chance, go take a look at the Giant Mouse Ace Series Riv.